And hello there, Bull League baseball fans. This is the Commissioner Ray. I'm going to talk to you today about StatsLab. We did one video already, sort of an introduction to StatsLab. We're going to talk a little bit more about it so that you get an idea of what it's capable of. So first of all, when you log into StatsLab, this is going to be your user profile screen. And you can see off to the right side your name, the user league ID, your team ID. Most of you won't have the commish number 1 there, but you get the idea. And this is also the screen where you can update your password from. Over in the left-hand column, it's very useful to put your email address into the contact information. One reason why is because StatsLab can send out updates to you through the email when the StatsLab data, the stats have been updated in the game. The forum name, that's an optional feature for the OOTP forums. I don't know anyone that has ICQ or MSN or any of that jazz anymore, but if you choose to do so, you can put that in there. Facebook page if you have one, and a Twitter feed. Now I have a Twitter feed for the team that I manage, the Toronto Nomads. So I put that in there instead of the league Twitter, just that way it's more focused on the team that I'm actually managing. And you can sign up for email subscriptions every time StatsLab loads new data, or if there's draft updates, you can check those boxes and click on save. And the commissioner does have the option to email you anyway if it's important enough. I may do that, but usually I'll only send out emails if you've subscribed to them. Okay, so what are some of the features here? Well, now that the Florida Rookie League is underway, that's what I'm going to focus on so we can maximize the stats that we're getting out of that. And you'll notice that the menu options are reduced. We don't do voting for All-Stars and Hall of Fame and whatnot in the Florida Rookie League. It is just a Rookie League. And ultimately, managing the teams is your option. You can have your AI manage the teams if you really want to. But I think some of the GMs out there are having fun managing during the winter. It gives them something to do. We are a real-time sim league or a slow sim league, so we sim along with real time. It's January 23rd when I'm doing this video, and you can see the date on the top of the screen. It's January 31st in our sim, and that's generally where we like to be, about 7 or 8 days behind real time. We'll wait till Friday to do our next sim, so we'll catch up a little bit and then sim ahead another 3-4 days at a time. Anyway, so this is the main screen that you'll see once you switch to the correct league. And during the season, this menu option here will be full of all kinds of handy options that will give you results. The other leagues, while they're inactive, it's the preseason for the other leagues, won't have game results, etc. So here's the season screen. The default comes to this screen, which shows you the last sim results for your team. You can pick any team you want, but it defaults to your own team, and your upcoming schedule. And over on the left, you see the last 8 games. My Toronto Nomads B team, based out of Fort Lauderdale, has gone 4-4 in the last 8 games. And each game's box score is there. The line score is there, showing which team was where, which one was the home team, what the score was, all the usual line score jazz, including any important notes. And if you want to look at the box score for any particular game, just click on the box score link. If the data has been updated on the HTMLs, and I generally try to keep them up to date for this league, then you'll be brought to the screen for that box score, and there's the full game story there. You can look for the players that you're tracking and scouting and hoping to see who's doing well and whatnot. If you want to look at the game log, I believe the Florida Rookie League game logs are also kept, so they're uploaded. This kind of detail, I suspect most of the GMs are more interested in their Bull League, their Major League team. for that kind of information. The player links do work as well, and they will link to the StatsLab player screen by default. So, for example, here's Blair Levick. I believe that's his name. Yep, had a spectacular game, and it gives you his pitching stats for the season, his 2017 projection, expanded pitching stats, and his fielding stats. So there's his last few games. If you're interested in his game logs, there's a link to his game logs there, and you can see his game logs for the season. Just 2 games for Blair Levick. Development history is also there. It does track development in a nice, easy-to-read format. It gives you the up and down arrows and the from and tos. Nice green and red coloring to highlight how he's been doing. And if you're so inclined, you can also see the contract information. Of course, if it doesn't load, then you gotta click the reload button, and there he is on a minor league contract. Which is not surprising, he's on the rookie B team. So back to the season screen. Whoops, went one too far. There's some other things you can see from this screen. The standings, obviously. Not much different than if you're in-game. The advantage being, of course, is you don't have to load the OOTP game to get these stats, and it's useful if they are up to date. We are a slow sim league, so keeping the StatsLab information up to date is pretty easy for us. Whereas some of the other leagues I've been in, they don't tend to update the StatsLab until there's important points throughout the game, season of the game. For example, the draft's coming up, etc. Trading deadlines and whatnot. So here you have some options. You can look at the last sim stats, press go, and you'll see what happened in the last 8 games. You can check out the season stats. We're just a little bit beyond that. We're at 14 games now. And or you can take a particular date range for the standings. The box score screen is the default screen that we saw earlier. We'll come back to graphs. Here's stats. This is your team's individual player stats with batting on top and pitching on the bottom. The great thing is it's got a lot of options here. You can have a look at how they're doing against a particular team. I know we played New York not too long ago, so find New York on the list. They are down on the bottom there. We're West Palm Beach, New York Minutemen B team. Click on go, and it'll give you the batting stats for my roster in the 3 games that we played against them so far this Rookie League season. Or just go right back up to the top there, and all teams. And again, you can break things down by last sim, by season, or by a particular date range. And we'll get it to reload there. And so team stats. All teams in the Florida Rookie League, it'll show the team stats, batting stats on the top again, pitching stats on the bottom of the screen. I'm on a shared internet connection today, so this is giving me a little bit of a delay here. There's the pitching stats. The great thing is, too, at the bottom of this team stats screen, you've got your head-to-head records, so you don't have to go digging for it in some other place. And you can pick whichever team you are tracking. Here's the Toronto B team, 3-1 against Jacksonville, and 0-1 against Kingston, 1-2 against New York so far. That's great. And you can look at the top performances so far, too. So top performances gives you some of the notable games in the last simulation. Based on a number of factors. Could be shutouts. Shutouts usually end up on the notable games. Here's one that went into extra innings. It was a 3-2 win for Key Largo's Ohio Oxen against Orlando's California Titles. Here's another one-run game that went to extra innings, and another extra innings game. So those ones in the shutouts tend to make the highlights in the left column. And some of the top players in the league are mentioned on the right side. So batters on the top, pitchers on the bottom again. And you can see some of the stats for the top players. Sim Preview is another one. So it will generate some of the more interesting, noteworthy matchups on the left. The next 3 games, starting with New York versus Dallas, for example. New York's top, very, very close to top in their division. Well, second, they're actually tied for first. And they haven't played Dallas yet. If they had played, then the season series would have their season results thus far. But this will be their first series against Dallas. And so on down the list, the noteworthy matchups that are coming up. Things to watch for, it's an interesting one. This is where StatsLab really maximizes some of the information. It takes a look at who's on what kind of streaks and gives you a little note. So here the Ohio Oxen B team are currently on a 7-game winning streak, and they're going to be facing off against Naples, the Anchorage Aces team. And then they've got the player streaks. Nobody's really on a streak right now. A noteworthy streak. Disabled list or recovering from injury. There's the roundup of the currently disabled players or injured players in the rookie league. And the hot-cold list at the bottom. Hot batters, hot pitchers, cold batters, cold pitchers, and how many games their streak or their hot or cold streak is lasting so far. And another interesting one is the stat of the day. Now, because the Florida Rookie League is so new, we don't generally have too much at the top there, but at the bottom, if you're curious to know, gives you today's birthdays. And January 31st in the simulation, the only birthday in the FRL is John McDonald there on Toronto. But the interesting thing is if you pick another league on this screen, let's see here. Just a terrible stat to pick, I guess, with the defensive innings at a position without starting a game there. We've got no stats to report in any of the leagues, even the Bull Baseball League. But generally speaking, some of the stats of the day will be fairly interesting. Here's one of the last ones here. Oh, there's a whole bunch here. So most strikeouts without allowing a walk. There you go. Top 25 players, most strikeouts without allowing a walk in the BBL. And that's an example of the kind of stats that they'll throw at you down there. So we'll go back to the Florida Rookie League again, and we'll check out, see, for example, stats. Actually, the graphs. Graphs have some interesting things. So we'll look at the home run race in the FRL. And here you go. Justin Cusimano coasting to the top. The other players down here in a graph format. It gives you the index there on the right to tell you which player's which and where they're at. Cusimano's got 9. And of course that'll go up as the season goes along. Team stats are interesting. You can click on these teams. You'll get the HTML page for each team, which is fine. But using some tricks here, you can pull down this and find the equivalent data. I'll show you the data for the Toronto team, or the Fort Lauderdale Nomads B. Season stats, and click on Go. It gives you the game logs for the team, batting splits, your home and away split, how you're doing during the regular season, how you're doing by month. Of course, we start in January. It's still January, but the next sim will have a February line. Your day-night split. Only 4 opponents so far. There's the split versus those opponents, and by position. You can tell how your players are doing by position. Usually, though, you have, especially at the upper levels, just one player, one starter at those positions. So it's pretty easy to narrow it down just by the player. Here's the pitching splits, same idea. And the game splits. And the great thing about the game splits is it really focuses or narrows down to how you're doing on an inning basis. Where are you scoring most of your runs? Where are you getting scored on? And what's your chances of winning, or your record for winning or losing after you're ahead or behind in the innings. And of course, there's one for being tied. So take an example here. When the Toronto Nomads B team is winning in the first inning, they've ended up winning the game 6 out of 7 times with an .857 record. Winning after 5 innings, they've won every game. Nobody's beat them if Toronto's ahead after 5 innings. So it gives you a good indication. Things like that can tell you how the pitching is doing. If you're winning the game after 5 innings and you haven't been beat yet, you've won all 7. That tells you that your bullpen's doing quite well, and they're able to shut down the offense. Of course, game logs, those link to those game reports again. Gives you attendance and all that stuff. And of course, this is nice to see in the Florida Rookie League. When the major league level is going, this will be populated with a lot more information. The information will be very key in making some of your lineup and pitching rotation decisions. I know it has been for me in another league that I'm in that uses StatsLab. And so this is a great opportunity. And you can get a lot of the information out of the history screen as well. History screen's full of all kinds of useful information. Here's the Florida Rookie League ballpark information. And on the right, you can see the park factor for runs, park factor for home runs. The better parks tend to be over 1. Some of the park factor 2 park factors for home runs above 2 include Boston's Jupiter Field and Arizona's Hollywood Field. So there's a number of useful stats you can pull out of this screen. There's a season summary. Of course, the season's not over yet. We're only 2 weeks into it, but the season summary gives you divisional standings at the top, team batting stats, pitching stats, fielding stats, financial stats. Of course, there's no league finances in the minor leagues, but this is the kind of information that you might find useful for the upper levels Bull League when we get to that season in May. Who are the better relief pitchers, starting pitchers, everything. Notable debuts and breakout performances. One thing I like to do is go and look at historic seasons in the BBL and see who are the breakout players that really came to the fore. And we can do some of that a little bit later. League strength is an interesting screen. More useful when you have another league to look at. So here is the league strength screen for the Lake League in one of the two conferences in the Bull Baseball League at the top level, and gives you an idea of where teams were at, who the best team was, and what their team record was, where the worst team was, and of course, if you mouse over these stats, you get the team name. So Battle Creek went to 1963. They had a .232 win percentage. The best team was Montreal last year, and they went .744. Well, the mouse overs decided to stop working. Oops, and we loaded up the Montreal Metros there. Oh, there you go. You can click on those stats, and you'll get the team report for that team for that year. So it gives you a great indication of how the league's been faring and how the teams in the league have been faring. League Trends is another interesting screen. I'll check it out for the BBL. You can see the league average runs per game on a downward trend for both the American Eagle League and the Lake League over the past few years, with a couple of blips up. Something that we'll have to address, hopefully, with the next draft. And here's the pitching trends as well. Runs per game for the pitching stats there. So some great information is available through StatsLab. Of course, as we mentioned in the earlier video, the main feature, one of the most important features of this, is the export screen. And that export screen does take a while to load in our server. But when it kicks up, you'll see which teams have exported, which teams have not, and the date of the current league file. when it was last updated. So we uploaded it Sunday, January 22nd. That's yesterday. The date on the league file, and we can see Boston's already updated their team file. Nobody else has as of yet. And I updated the Wellington Dukes. They're getting some free agents for the Beloceanic League team that I manage as well. So yeah, we're still waiting for a lot of the exports, but of course our next sim isn't until Friday, so that's pretty normal. Of course, the managers screen is also a useful screen. Tells you who the managers are at the different teams, and if you want the information about that particular manager, you can click on their name, and it gives you their HTML screen for their manager profile. So there you go. Another useful feature, though, is if that manager has added their email into the StatsLab profile, you'll see the email right there, and you can fire up an email to them if you want to discuss a trade or talk whatever offline out of Slack. There's the link to the Twitter, so if they put in a Twitter page, a proper link to it, then that's where it'll show up on the manager's screen. And you can see we're actually doing really well. The two divisions or two leagues in the Bull Baseball League, Lake and Eagle, American Eagle, 20 teams. We've got 10 human GMs now, only 10 computer-controlled teams, and we're hoping by the time the season opens in May that we'll have 20 active and interested GMs managing teams right through into the 2017 season. So that's going to wrap up this video. Just a short one, giving you a little bit more of an in-depth look as to what the StatsLab is capable of and what kind of information you can glean from it. It's a good opportunity to look at it now that we've got the FRL underway for the 2017 season, 2 weeks into their play. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will have more videos coming your way. Not just on StatsLab. I think we've pretty much covered it, but we'll start doing some videos on how to manage your rosters, how to manage your lineups, some strategies for that, and hopefully we can get our GMs interested and engaged and have some fun playing baseball, managing baseball teams this year.